this video, I want to talk about the AM1 by Michael Zahl. I hope I pronounced it properly. He's from Germany and he designs audio mixers. He's been doing that for quite a while actually. And this mixer here, at the very moment in the world, there's I think only like 12 that have been made, and I'm really lucky and I feel really grateful that I managed to have a copy. And with the pandemic, I've been operating it from my home that I've transformed into a little studio, and the results are already mind-blowing. Since there's not many people that have a mixer like this, I thought I would make a little video filmed by my son, by the way. So for instance, I'm going to talk about the design. Basically, I have two sound interface. It's two Apollo X8, and I have all of them plugged in the back. So everything has been plugged from the output of my computer. And in Ableton, I route all the channels in the mixer here. And then after that, I have access to all the channels independently. So the question is, why would I export all the channels through this and then go back into the DAW? A lot of people have been asking me, what's the benefit of doing such thing? The thing is, when the sound comes out of the DAW and comes here, it automatically gets an analog treatment, because this is an analog mixer. So you get to have the sound of each channel summed into one master channel right here. And the summing is something that we've been hearing more and more. There's a lot of people talking about summing at the moment. And the beautiful thing is that all these channels are coming through here, they're getting beefed up, and then with the EQ on each channel, I can tweak the sound to make it sound like a little bit adjusted and feeling either a little bit more bassy, a little bit more present, adding air. So it's really nice what it does. So if I can explain the design of this mixer, first of all, there's two mono channels here. I use one mono channel for the kick, one mono channel for the low end, usually for the bass element. And after that, we have two CV stereo channels and three stereo channels that are not CV. What's the difference between a CV channel and a regular stereo channel? Well, this one has internal and external CV signal that can come in and change some of the parameters. So if you look at all the channels, they have inside here, we have the routing. So for instance, this is an EQ, and we have the frequency here. And then we have here where the input modulation is coming from. So I can have it coming from an external signal, or I can have it from an internal signal. When I say internal signal, it's because I have an oscillator in here that generates a noise, or a sample and hold, if you want to call it otherwise. And this allows to create a regular signal that can modify certain components, such as the wet dry, the frequency add-ons that we have here. And it can also control the panning. It can control the amplitude of the channel itself. And so maybe you're wondering, like, what's the use of doing that? Mainly because if you're a really stubborn audio engineer like I am, and a sound designer, you want your channel to always be dynamic and always be evolving. And having this kind of internal signal really helps having always the sound moving and interacting sometimes when the like either the noise coming in or the sound itself, because there is a gate in here. So there's an envelope, follower, and gate, and the envelope follower here, there's a sensitivity and the shape for the envelope follower. And this, depending if you, let's say, have claps or hi-hats, it can just react to that. And imagine that your clap is actually just moving the gain on the equalizer on the highs. It can make like, you can use it to either control transients, for instance, or maybe spice up some sounds that are a bit boring or a bit dead. So it's very useful for that. You can also use it to modulate a send to an external aux. So in the aux, we have 6 external aux. I use 2. I use 1 unit for reverb, delay, and multi-effects. It's a Lexicon. And the second one is a multi-band compressor by CubeTech. And these 2 are there for either just beefing up the sound again or adding extra width. And speaking of width, one thing that is really interesting with this mixer is the fact that for each channel I can have a switch here which allows me to put it in a MS mode, MS mid-side, so I can open up some channels and then go tweak a little bit if I want to just change the way the mids are in the mids. So that's a good way to control that. And the stereo channel is exactly like this one, but it doesn't have the CV input. But one thing that I really like is the fact that the very high end has all the way up to 20 kilohertz, which is really nice on the transients. It really adds this air that I really like on sometimes on hats or detailed transients are looking really nice with this. So that's something really nice. When it comes to the preamp, it's not like a Neve preamp. It has no character. It's very transparent, really warm. And the feedback that I get from a lot of clients is that one thing they like about the sound of the mixer is it adds this kind of fuzzy, warm analog blanket over their mixes, which is, like it breaks from the original electronic signal that we have from the DAW itself. There's nothing wrong with digital, but digital going through analog and coming back in digital, it adds this dimension that you won't have from the DAW alone. So all in all, this mixer is an absolute bomb. One last thing that I really like is that there's also another noise generator here that you can create some from multiple sources and has its own noise generator. So for instance, the BRN here, that's a brown noise. And brown noise, you can mix it with the internal signal here that we have from the fluctuation. And the sum of these 2 create a new signal, so that if you're not satisfied with the fluctuation that comes in from the starting point, you can add this dimension to make it even a little bit less predictable. And with your modular, this is a good way again to modulate any of your buses or whatever you send to. Okay, so this is Ableton. This is my session. If you look at this, the external out is where I take one channel and I route it to the mixer. What I do here is I do the external out instead of going through to the master here, it's going to the mixer, and then there's an external in here where it's taking the signal from 1, 2, and the sound after going to the mixer is coming back here. So if I take this right now, the signal that we see that is recording right now has been gone through the mixer. The input is really low because I didn't put it really high. If I turn it up, this come back. I know it's difficult to see with the encoding on the social media such as YouTube and others, but there is this kind of quality that analog brings to a digital signal that is very particular. And the quality of that is that it makes the sound feels more full. Sometimes we can play with the stereo width as well, and there's like an element of subtle saturation that the analog will provide as well. It's really nice to receive something like that, a signal treated this way, and the latency is not so much. It's pretty acceptable. And once I'm happy with my file, once this has been fully recorded, then I can export it, and then we have the analog mixdown that has been done. The only thing that is really frustrating when you do analog mixing is that you can't really save all the presets. So when I finish a session, I have to take pictures of the settings of the faders and the knobs on the mixer itself. And then the client hopefully will respond quickly enough for me to just not have to reset the board. That's the complicated part. The beautiful thing with this is that you save all the preset, you open the session, boom, it's there. No time wasted. But with analog mixing, I get a lot of requests. It's really difficult because you can't save, and it's like really nice not to have the digital aspect of it. Beautiful. So all that to say, the mixer I got, I feel like it's the best investment I ever did. It's just changing the game totally for the job that I'm doing. It's been such a pleasure just for sound design and to tweak sound even on my own production. I do see a great benefit already. So this has been incredibly useful. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to get in touch, if you have any questions, just post them in the comments. I will reply when I have time. And you can also check my website, which is audio.
The question I'm answering right now is, do you need analog recording equipment
to work with me?